Today I want to discuss some details about my new passion, which is data reports. There are 70 hidden documents that credit bureaus, lenders, and bankers, mortgage professionals, auto dealers review about you, but they don't share the information that they have discovered. All right, you think that your credit reports are the most important things that you can actually share with a lender or banker, when actually, no, it's not. The credit report is now trumped by what I call a data report. A data report, all right? And I've created a system that is a 3 simple step process, where if I request these data reports, review them with you, and restrict them from public domain, you could 10x your chance to access more credit and 10x your credit data security. That's what we're going to discuss today. All right? Now, how did I discover this? I have to take you back a little bit. I've been in the credit repair business for 15 years. All right? I started in the credit repair business. I was homeless. I was actually living on the streets, living in the park on Town Center in 215. It's called the Gardens. I was spending most of my time in the casinos during the nighttime and then sleeping in the park during the day. I got a job at Vivix Credit Solutions in 2016. I was actually looking for a place to use the restroom when I got the job. I wasn't actually looking for a position, right? So to fast forward, after doing credit repair for about 10 years, I noticed in our credit rebuilder program that there was some disparity in approvals, all right? We would send everyone with the same credit profiles to the same creditors to establish new credit. So let's say you have a girlfriend that you graduated from college with. You have the same degree. You now live in the same apartment. You have the same job. You make the same income. I would send you to a creditor and say, start an account here, and ask you to come back to me to tell me what you got approved for. And I would keep a dossier on the approvals. You would tell me you got approved for $5,000, and you would say your girlfriend got approved for $500. Well, initially you would feel a little embarrassed trying to figure out how did your girlfriend get approved for $5,000 and you only have $500 when you know you and she have the same income, same job, same college degree, same age. So what would you consider would be the reason for the disparity in the approvals? At first, I thought it had to be demographic. I thought it had to be a demographic, right? And so when I realized that wasn't something that I could teach to the masses because it would come off like I was teaching from a vantage point of emotion, right? So I kept keeping the dossier. A year go by, I'm still stacking up the information. And one day, I decided to ask clients to bring in more of their declination letters because we do credit repair at Vivix Credit Solutions the old-fashioned way. We actually invite you in for a consultation. We meet with you. We look at your reports with you, kind of like a doctor's appointment. We don't want to do it through a login, a software, an application. Your credit is so important to you that it could have psychosomatic effects on your health, right? So here I am looking at these declination letters, and I found something on the declination letter that clued me to what the real issue is. If you've read a declination letter, what is the statement that it typically says to you about why you were declined and how they found out information to use to either approve you or decline you? You recall what that statement is?
The agency, the 3 different agencies that they use to check your credit?
Yeah. Okay, it sounds something like this.
Sorry, thank you for
Yes, it sounds something like this. Our decision was based
on,
not in whole, but in part, on information obtained from Equifax, Experian or TransUnion, whichever bureau or all 3, and information we obtained from our affiliates and subsidiaries. Let me say that again. Our decision was based in whole. Our decision was not based in whole, but in part on information obtained from your Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion credit report and from information obtained from our affiliates and subsidiaries.
You see, we don't, what is that?
So when was the last time that you asked the credit bureau, who are your affiliates
Never.
and subsidiaries? You've never asked that question, have you? Okay?
No.
Now, I like to prove things when I say it. This is a declination letter from Rolls Royce when I went to buy a Rolls Royce. I don't know what I was thinking about. I just thought I could do it, right? What does it say here? It says, our credit decision was based in whole or in part on information obtained from an affiliate or from an outside source other than the Consumer Reporting Agency. Is that what it says? Okay, right. So that triggered me. I created a letter to then send to all of the clients that were being declined, requesting the names of the affiliates and the subsidiaries. And I got no responses. At that time, we had an attorney in our office, a credit law attorney, and I brought this up to him, and he said to send them certified, add a little bit more legalese to it, and I did. And I started getting back the names of some of the affiliates and the subsidiaries. And this is what brought to my attention the data reports. You have credit reports, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. Those are the three major bureaus, correct? Who are the three minor bureaus? Yes, yes. The three minor bureaus are SageStream, Advanced Resolution Solutions, and Innovis. Innovis, I-N-N-O-V-I-S. So you have the three major bureaus and the three minor bureaus. The three minor bureaus were data report providers at one point that got so big in affecting the approval process of clients or prospects that they had to then become credit bureaus. Okay? So, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, you know about those. Behind your back, Innovis, SageStream, Advanced Resolution Services, okay? So then, outside of those are some smaller companies, quite like private investigators for bankers, lenders, for that industry, that collect data to share back to the bankers and the lenders, and they're not qualified to disclose that information to you because they don't fall under the law, the federal law, the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, okay? It will be the equivalent of a private investigator being hired to follow you. You would not know that they were following you because it's supposed to be private. Or to research information about you and then sell that to someone that wants to know more about you, right? Where would that be reported for you to know that the private investigator created a file for you? There would be no way for you to know that. So these companies have been doing that for 20 plus years. And I'm gonna share some of the names with you. My system has 70 plus of these companies. I've now gotten it up to 100, okay? But it's 70 plus so far that I know for a fact most consumers don't know about. So let's talk about it. Did you know that your neighborhood that you live in has a credit score? There is a neighborhood credit score. Why would that be important?
Because of the cost of the area?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Let me back up and take you one step back. Credit applications. There's something on the credit application that always kind of gives you pause when you have to answer that question. What question is it? It's kind of out of the blue. It doesn't really match anything else. What is your mother's maiden name?
Yeah.
Haven't you always thought to yourself, now you got to step back and remember, what was mama name before she got married? Right? Have you ever wondered why do they ask for your mother's maiden name?
Yeah, I always wonder, but yeah.
It's a generational identifier. Fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. So you may make it out of 90210, but mama typically will stay right where you were when you were in high school, junior high school, and everything, right? The data that they get from your mother's maiden name is to aggregate what may be the generational wealth of the mother with the generational wealth of the children and come up with an average of wealth for the family. Now, why is that important? That's important because bankers and lenders really want to know how they can get their money back. It's not a racial issue. They just want to identify who's the best to loan their money to. Okay? So that application, that question is on everyone's application. It's not on a specific demographics application, right? But now you understand why, okay? So when they're looking at that, how do they get more details about the generational wealth just by knowing the name of your mother or your mother's maiden name? They go to a data report called LexisNexis.
LexisNexis, yeah, I used to use it at my job, yeah, LexisNexis.
Okay, so you know LexisNexis gives information about the neighborhood, right?
Who you related to?
Who,
Address,
how many people are in the house,
household, yeah.
the size of the house, the number of bedrooms in the house, the value of the house when it was purchased by you or when you leased it, if it has appreciated or depreciated. They also tell about the crime rate in the community, the educational average of the people that live in the community, right? So when they're giving this data to the creditors and the credit bureaus, and they now have the maiden name, yes, they collect that data from the parents as well. Now let's get back to you and your girlfriend going to the bank to get approved. Now you can see some of the factors. Your girlfriend's LexisNexis file may show the property values for her family to be higher than the property values for where your family lives, right? That current address and previous address, you currently live with her, but your previous address may have a higher crime rate, a depressed property value, right? And the educational average for that area may have been less than college degree or high school. So this is how these approvals have so much disparity, and you couldn't figure out why. You were vexed. Why is it some kind of roll of the dice what I'm gonna get approved for? And you do ask other people, when you got your Victoria's Secret card, what was your limit? Right? I'm sorry, I mean, when you got your Neiman Marcus card, what was your limit? Right? I ask my buddies that, and I get offended when they say they got a higher limit. Okay, so now we know the credit app, we know the generational identifiers. Now let's move forward with the neighborhood score. Every creditor has a underwriting guideline that they like to follow before they actually send out marketing material. The guideline is we want a 710 credit score, someone that's been on the job more than 2 years, someone that's been in the credit bureau for 5 years, right? They buy that information from the credit bureaus, and the credit bureaus give them that data list. Then they buy information from LexisNexis about the neighborhood credit score, and anyone that's on that list that lives in a neighborhood that has a score less than their underwriting guideline, they don't send pre-approvals. So if you have a 780 credit score, but you live in a neighborhood that has a 640 average score, and they also know this for when people buy houses, they have to do what? Complete a credit application, and that data is collected and stored. So they know what the mean credit score is for that neighborhood from that as well, even if they're not using it from LexisNexis. So you could move from a bad neighborhood to a new neighborhood with a better average and find yourself getting pre-approved just because of the move. I teach people how to use mailing addresses with the right zip codes. Yeah. Use a mailing address with the right zip code. Yes, apply with your current address because they want to know that. But then eventually change all of your credit cards over to your mailing address. So the statements go to the mailing address. And what you'll find is creditors then, after so many months, they will assume the mailing address is your what? Current address, and they'll send the approvals to that, and that's when you're on your way. Because now you're removed from where you couldn't move from. I never said that one. You are removed from where you couldn't move from.
I like that.
Okay? Okay? Yes.
But you have all these addresses on your credit report.
Not if you know that you should remove them and only have 2 addresses.
To remove.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Just like you will have multiple names on your credit report because individuals will put your first name as your last name and your last name as your first name, and you'll have multiple names. So if you review your report every year, you want to dispute those variations of names, socials, date of births, and dispute any addresses that you no longer live at and phone numbers that you no longer have. Okay? All right, so you know you have the neighborhood score. Did you know that you also have a city score? Now, we talked about that. You didn't know you have a score where you're a city. Right? What's the score for Las Vegas? The average score for a person that lives in Las Vegas?
647.
647. So now, we have data where we don't send certain approvals or marketing material to certain neighborhoods because we know the score.
But also cities.
So now we know the cities.
Wow.
Okay, I didn't make this up. It's there, right? Okay. So what if you have a great credit score, but you live in a city that has an average 640 score?
Isn't it depending on the zip code?
Mm-hmm.
What about the zip code?
The zip codes are, the neighborhood scores are created from the zip codes. But this is for the entire city. Okay? All right? So these are factors that you could say, I don't get it. I have 800 credit scores. And when I go to apply for something, I'm getting declined. How's that happening? It's the data reports. It's not your credit reports. Your credit report is the equivalent of a doctor looking at you, telling you to say, take 3 deep breaths, breathe out. That's the credit report. The data report is when they pull blood and send that to the lab.
Internally.
It's a whole different report, right? Because now they're looking at you like, you look like you healthy, but
Right.
your blood has a kind of cyclical look to it. You dehydrated, right? But you got a bottle of water in the doctor's office. Okay? So you got to understand which data reports the bankers and lenders are looking at. And I'm going to share more with you. Now, this is the next thing. When you do the credit application, what's one of the most important things that they want to know that you would believe they want to know? Where you work, right? Where you work, your income, right? And you know, you fudge them numbers a little bit, right? If you've been there years, let's be honest. If you've been there a year, 6 months, how long have you really been there? You've been there 2 years. That W-2 goes there so nice and easy, right? If you make 38,000, how much do you make? You make 40,000, right? Okay, so when you complete that application, if they don't ask you for a pay stub or a W-2, you feel that that's a pretty safe bet that you made 40,000 and you've been there around 2 years. If you put SERPR there, C-I-R-C, now that's beautiful, you did good, right? So how would they figure out that you haven't been there 2 years and you really don't make 40?
Somebody reports those.
Report.
Well, what's the name of that report then if you think they're doing it? Because I didn't tell you that one.
I don't know what it is, but I promise you.
Okay,
Somebody reports those.
if, this is what bothers me and gives me pause. If the data reports that I'm gonna reveal to you have all of this information that they've already known without you doing the credit act, why are you even doing the credit act?
That's just that.
It's a
what's it called?
formality.
Yeah, it's that false security.
It's a formality.
Like you don't want your information.
Here it is. Here's the report that the credit bureaus sell to your creditors. I got a pre-approval with an 800 credit score from Prosper. They kept sending it to me, So I said, you know what, let me just accept it. I accepted it, and they declined me. I said, what? How could you decline me when you've been sending me pre-approvals and I have an 800 credit score? Well, Prosper checks. Oh, I've been using you too much. This is a employment data report. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Does it say credit report or data?
Data report.
Who checked this report February 24th, 2016?
Prosper Marketplace.
Prosper. Prosper, right? What did Prosper learn from this data report about my employment history that was given to them by a credit bureau? Prosper learned that I have not had a job. I have inactively been employed since 2005. I've been working for the last 14 and a half years at Vivix Credit Solutions. But this data report says I don't have a job for the last 14 years. See, it's employment status? What does it say?
Inactive,
Since when?
9/17/2005.
It says inactive employment since 2005. So I haven't had a job in 14 years. Yes or no?
What's
Okay.
inactive?
Yeah. Yeah.
According to what the paper say,
It's-
no.
Exactly.
My employment status inactive since 2005. Not only that, it says I live at an address that I no longer live. Not only that, it says my average hours per work week. Yes, it will tell if I'm part-time, full-time. It will tell what my total pay is, breakdown based on base pay, overtime, commission, bonuses. So you think you telling them,
So they don't already know.
you think you're saying you make 40, you full-time when you really 33 hours, you're not 35, right?
Yeah, right.
You say you've been there 2 years, and they have a report that tells the breakdown of everything, and the banker and the creditor access this report
From where?
directly from the credit bureau because this company is owned by Equifax. It's one of their data reports, so it's one of their subsidiaries that's off by itself. Because if they pull it too close under, then it falls under what? Federal law. And they have to be disclosed as a part of the declination process. You have to disclose that. But they don't disclose it fully because in the declination letter it says our affiliates and subsidiaries. Now if somebody's gonna talk about you and come and say, well, you know, one of my friends told me something about you, what you gonna say? What's your friend's name? And if you keep telling somebody about what someone said about them that they don't like and you don't tell them the name, what eventually is gonna happen? They don't wanna deal with you. Because what? You're affiliated with somebody that may not like me and you will leave me in the dark. Why are the credit bureaus leaving you in the dark? Because these reports are more important to them than your credit reports. But you're just trying to keep your credit score good. You're trying to not have any late payments. You keep checking Credit Karma every other day. And then you come to me mad at me because you didn't get approved, and I say you need data report repair, and you're like, well, what's that? Then you call another credit repair company that doesn't offer it, and ask them, do they know anything about data reports, and they go, no. And then I can prove it to you why they don't know, all right? So we know that there is a data report about your employment history. So no need now to even fudge the numbers. If you've been there a year and 6 months, just say a year and 6 months. Okay, if you've been there and you make 38,000, just say 38,000.
Can I just write you already know?
She said you already know. Now, before I go into some of the other deeper reports, I just want to tell you something that's also important. Did you know the kind of job you have has a score for the industry? So if you're in a job that is in an industry that is going down, they then consider that in approving or disapproving you, and it's called your job security score. Okay? It says my job security score is a 239. It says I have a chance of 42% chance of being let go. Yeah, that tickled you, didn't it? It tickled me too, because I know I'm the best at the job, right? So how is it they don't get it that I am? And this score goes from 0 to 1,000, okay? And you can order this, but you never knew you had one. That's that right.
Mine is 1,000.
Yeah, you never knew you had one. That's your job security score.
How could you get access to this for yourself? Well, obviously you see it now, but how
Yes.
could you get access?
I'll get you some copies, and I'll show you how to look that up. Okay, so that's your job security score. You need to go on that site, put in your information, and find out what the industry, how they see the security of your position, because that's affecting how they approve you. Okay? All right? Any questions about anything I've said so far?
Yeah. So how does this work for so I'm an entrepreneur now. Do I put in my job as CEO or like my job as a marketer? Because that's the type of company I have to find out the score.
Okay, that's a real good question. Real good question, right? How do you think you should handle it?
I think I should probably put in whatever makes me look better. So putting in being a CEO
Okay,
in the industry of that industry.
that's very good.
Yeah.
Never, ever, this is my opinion. I'm not an accountant or an attorney, but this is my opinion. Never, ever say you're the owner of a company.
Really? Why is that?
Okay, so this is not a business credit workshop, but I'm going to stop and address that question. If you're an employee, what do you show to prove income?
W-2.
W-2 or pay stubs.
Yeah.
If you are an owner, what do you use to show income?
Your tax return,
Financials,
tax return.
profit and loss, balance sheet.
Too much.
You don't want to have to show all of that, because now you have to produce it quickly, and it has to be current. So that means you have to have a CPA.
So I should always say I'm an employee of my company?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Also for the reason of not being sued or attacked.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
I was gonna get personal liability insurance for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but you still don't want to have to respond to the attack because of the fact that people think you have deep pockets. Right? Yeah.
But eventually, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't want to be the owner or the founder. You want to be the employee.
Okay.
And you want to produce the documents as an employee. But at times where it's advantageous to be the owner, then step into that role. You have duality.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I get
All right.
that,
Okay. Any other questions? All right. So now we know that there is the payroll report. We know we have the job security score, and we know lenders are looking at that to see the security in your industry for your position. Now, this is the one that typically gives people pause. When I ask them, do they believe their banking activity is in the public domain? Yeah, you probably believe it, but do you know how it is found in the public domain?
Don't know how it's found, but.
Okay, there are data reports that show how much money you have in your account, all your debits, all your credits, all your direct deposits on a daily basis for the last 10 years.
How do they get access to it?
In every account you have, not the one that you think no one else knows about. In every account that you have, okay? And this is how they get access to it. To answer that question, this data report here shows when you request it and the creditors request it, it shows the name of the account, if it's a Premier account or a Plus account. It shows the account number, if it's checking, savings, what your current balance is in checking and savings, what your average monthly balance is, and then it shows all of your transactions day by day. Okay? All of your transactions day by day. And this is provided as a data report where it doesn't require a subpoena. There's no need for a subpoena for this. I can get this for you. You just give me your name and social, and I can tell you, you know, all your money stuff right from here. Okay? So if you're thinking that you're fooling the insurance company or whoever, you're suggesting that you may have 30,000 when you have 13,000, you're thinking that they don't really know, because how would they know? Or if you're thinking that you're getting some money that belongs to someone else and you're depositing in your account for them and holding it for them and then giving it back to them when they need it, and then some more, and then they give you a little interest because you're a little small time bank from your house. And you're thinking you know nobody knows. They know. Okay? This one's only been around about 5 years. This one's been around for over 20 years. This is my banking activity report. It goes all the way back to 2009. It shows my name, my address, my routing number, my account number. It says I was overdrawn November 22nd, 2016. I was overdrawn again April 2nd, 2013. I was overdrawn January 19th, 2011. I was overdrawn August 24th, 2010. I was overdrawn September 17th, 2009. I didn't know that. Okay? Now look at all my transactions, all my ACH and check transactions with the amounts attached and the dates. And look, it's day by day. All the way back to 2017. All the way back to 2016.
Is that like a bank statement? Is that your bank statement?
No.
No, what is that?
This is a data report.
Banking.
A banking activity data report. Let's go back further. It was one thing I was proud of in here where I put that 50,000 in the bank. You know, I don't want you to think I've been overdrawn all the time. That 50,000 right there. Tell them when that $50,000. Just kidding. Right? Okay. Now, I want you to know that every time you apply for a credit card or a loan or whatever, the company, who does it say here is the inquirer's name? JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citibank, US Bank, on the dates. These are the inquirer dates. They access this report. When I requested credit cards and loans, this is the report. Who is the inquirer? JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citibank, US Bank.
Yeah, but that's illegal. So how'd they get access?
Well, social and name, you said that's all you need, right?
I'm not an attorney.
I'm just saying.
These are the dates. This is all my transactions, 2017, 2016, all my account numbers, okay? Okay, so.
How did you get, because you do what you do is how you get that? Because we couldn't get that, could we?
Yes, you could.
We can.
These are the 70 data reports that I revealed to you and request yours for you, review them with you for you, and then freeze them so no one can access them,
Yeah,
so you
we
can
did
go
that.
back to your privacy. Okay? Okay? And this is why I say this information, when it's frozen, will 10x your chance to access more credit and 10x your credit data security. Because if the 3 major credit bureaus and the 3 minor credit bureaus are being breached almost every 6 months, and Fortune 500 companies are as well, these little teeny companies you don't even know about have more vital information about you. And if they get breached, you won't even know it when you read the newspaper or hear it on the news. You won't know how vital they were to your privacy when they got breached. Okay? Now, those are the banking activity reports. So we know about the job security reports. We know we got a neighborhood credit score. We know we have a city credit score, right? We know LexisNexis tells us about how many people are in our house, what the value is, what the crime rate is, what the average education is, what the average income is. So we know we need to move around a little bit. If we live in a community where the city score and the neighborhood score is too low, we know we need to get a new mailing address, right? So these are some of the tactics. Now, remember when the declination letter from Rolls-Royce said affiliates and subsidiaries? Well, now there is a section in the credit reports that talks about affiliates and subsidiaries, but this is not the report you get. So, a credit report is something that a creditor accesses for you to what? Get credit. The report that has the information that you want is a consumer report. The consumer report is the report you get from the credit bureaus every year to just review your report for your own edification. Yes or no? In the consumer report, you will find it has a section called third-party supplemental information. Third-party supplemental information. Yes. And this is what it will say. In addition to the information maintained in the above credit report, TransUnion will occasionally contact a third party for supplemental information in connection with a particular transaction in response to a request from a particular customer. Who's TransUnion's customer? They're B2B. They're business to business. They're to help the businesses determine if it's a good idea to give you some money. Okay? So when one of their customers occasionally asks for supplemental third-party information, we provide it. And they said, listed below is the supplemental data that TransUnion obtained from such third parties, as well as the names of the TransUnion customer to whom it was obtained for. Now, that 20-year-old data report I told you about is right here, data source. That company's name is listed here as the occasional third-party supplemental information we get. So if they say it's occasional, what are they really saying? Every time, okay? Okay, every time, okay? And it says, who did they request the information for? The TransUnion's customer is who? A finance corporation. So you went to the finance corporation to apply for a loan. They pulled TransUnion. TransUnion has a buffet list of data reports that it can click, as it occasionally likes to, and pull that report instantly along with your credit report. So which data report do you think they will pull every time? Banking,
Bank, of course,
payroll, employment, okay? Look how detailed this report is. It tells when the report was requested, when was the last time you had a checking account closed? Why is that important? If your accounts are being closed, eventually that means you're moving money and something's going wrong. It tells within the last month, 2 months, 3 months, year, 2 years, 3 years. It tells also how many times you've applied for a checking account. Why is that important? Who just goes out applying for a bunch of checking accounts and they ain't doing something shit? It just sounds shifty, right? Girl, where you at? I'm at the bank, I'm getting a new checking account. And every time you call, girl, I'm at this other bank. Well, when are you gonna be finished? I'm gonna be doing this till 5, right? All right? It tells also your demand deposit activity, your demand deposit account activity. What do you think that is? Demand deposit account activity. That's me demanding your deposit account activity to review. Demand almost sounds like you better give it to me. Doesn't it say demand?
That's what I hear.
Demand deposit account activity, your DDA. Okay? It also tells if you have ever filed bankruptcy, if you have multiple social security numbers, if you have any collections, if you've had any repossessions. It tells if you are applying for cash advance loans. Within how many years? 7 years. So if you slipped up one day and needed a little money and went to a cash advance company, it goes back 7 years. Okay? It tells if you have any alternative credit inquiries. Those are payday loans. Okay? This is a report that is given to the creditor by who? Okay? Do y'all want to see that? Okay? So that's the supplemental data. That's the data reports. Okay? Now, I'm almost done here.
Should I wait to ask the question later?
Please do. Please do. You can ask me.
Now. How does this play into business credit?
Business credit. Because typically the person that's applying for business credit is the guarantor of the business. See, a lot of people hide under the EIN number, the tax ID number, and step out of themselves and have bad credit but have perfect business credit. Well, they still ask which officer is going to be signing for the loan. And so when that officer steps up and said, I am, he has to put his social there. Because of the Patriot Act, we have to still verify who's getting the money, right? And when they do that, if they look at that person's credit, that's why a lot of business owners will get step-in signers with perfect credit, right? So they still see it. But eventually when your business gets seasoned enough and makes enough money, sometimes your credit as the owner or your officer's credit is not as important, but you got to be extremely liquid for that to happen. Extremely liquid, okay? And I've tried and tested these. These are not my theories. All right, so now let's talk about,
Thank you.
yes, let's talk about cars, because you know everyone loves a nice car, right? I'm a sucker for cars. I go to the dealership to buy a Lamborghini 7 years ago. There was an online marketer who had one and it caught my eye. And so I went to the dealership and I had been praying for, something good for my birthday. I go to the dealership, get approved. They call me, Mr. Brown, come pick up your Lamborghini. Well, I had belief issues. I didn't believe them. I got my first payment coupon in the mail, made my payment. The car still at the dealership.
What?
It's been there 45 days. I'm scared to go get it.
What?
One, I didn't know how to drive. I didn't know how to use the pedals. So I went to the supercar driving range and drove a few Lamborghinis on the weekend. And
Yeah.
go pick the car up. It's raining, so I couldn't drive it in the rain. The dealer told me. Right? So I ended up buying it. I had an 804 credit score, I think it was, somewhere around there. I drove it home. I still have it now. It's been 7 years. I'm gonna put like 4,500 miles on it. There was no issue getting the Lamborghini. There's a difference between a luxury car and an exotic car and a supercar.
What's a supercar? Like
Supercar would be like a
Ghost or something?
no, supercar would be like a Bugatti,
Oh.
a LaFerrari. Okay, that's a supercar, right?
Yeah.
That's a Ferrari. That's a Ferrari. That supercar, like sometimes Ferrari will say, unless you've owned a Ferrari, you can't buy certain other Ferraris. Like you can't buy an Enzo unless you've had a less That's a Ferrari, something like that. So anyway, after 6 years go by, I decide I wanted to get a Rolls Royce. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go to the dealership. And it was a strategic move. It was something related to business. I was trying to buy a building, a 24 unit building. And they said that I needed a $360,000 down payment. And I didn't have a pay experience on the business credit that was for $360, to borrow $360. So I went and bought something that was more than that and added it to the business. And then went back to the bank. And then after that, they said, oh, now you have too much debt. We can't give it to you now because you have too much debt. So, but this was the key to the story. The Lamborghini is just signature, 800 credit score. The Rolls Royce, whole nother thing. Rolls Royce pulled a data report that I didn't think, well, not the company Rolls Royce, but the dealer pulled a data report that I didn't think they could pull. And I'm gonna show it to you. It popped up on my credit report. It was a payroll data report, all right? Now, who is ADP?
It's
Is
it's a payroll company.
the largest payroll company,
Right.
right?
Right.
Well, when I got my alert from Credit Check Total, it said ADP pulled my credit report on July 12, 2017. This is the name of the dealer, and this is the name of the payroll company. That dealership is the largest dealership in the country. And ADP is the largest payroll company in the country. When did they get together and create a company? When did they get together and create a company that pulled my credit report through TransUnion?
Wow.
When did these two companies get together and create a company to pull my credit report? Now, don't be surprised by that. Be surprised if I suggest to you that this address, when I say we need to get addresses that are in the right neighborhoods, how could these two billion-dollar companies, I even suspect, use this address? If anyone Googles this address right now, it's an empty lot. I drove there to ask them how did they pull my credit and what kind of company are they? And it was an empty lot. I mean, it was nothing there. I was standing on the lot and it's nothing there. I go to the dealership. I ask the dealership, okay, who is this company? And they say, we need to talk to corporate because we're not sure
Of course.
who that company is. There is no listing on the stock exchange for a symbol for this company, right? So of course, they didn't believe what I put on my application for my income. And they don't care to believe it. They want to check it. You're not gonna just leave here. You can leave with a Mercedes, you can leave with a Jaguar, you can leave with a Lamborghini, but you're not gonna leave with this one, right? So, of course, they asked for 2 years tax returns, which I didn't provide. They asked for bank statements, I didn't provide. They asked for pay stubs, I didn't provide because I had this. And they apologized for this. This is what is called a disappearing inquiry. Have you ever purchased a home and right before close, they pull your credit one more time? Yes or no? Do they do that?
Yes.
Right? But guess what? That inquiry somehow disappears. It hits your report, they pull it, and then it disappears. These are disappearing inquiries. This inquiry disappeared in 48 hours. It wasn't on my report anymore. Luckily, when I copied it and took it to them, and they said, well, print the report and give us a copy of it. I printed it, it wasn't there. So I was like, man, luckily I had this though. But they wanted the full report. They was like, well, where's your name on this report? Yeah, you were in the dealership that day, but we don't see your name at the top of this. So how are we sure this is yours? Okay? So at certain levels of purchases, there are data reports that are gonna be accessed, and at certain levels, they're not gonna be. Why would that be? For certain liabilities, they don't access data reports. But for legacy moves, they access data reports. So if you're out talking about building wealth, if you're out talking about you're gonna take your life to the next level, and you're out living full throttle, trying to leverage your social security number, your credit, to buy buildings, to buy a business, to buy, a family home, a jumbo loan, right? Not 380 or less. I'm talking about,
Major.
right. These are the reports that you need to be aware of, and you need them frozen so you're at the table in control. You're not at the table where they're smirking and you're saying you made 40 when you made 38. You've been there 2 years when it's only been a year and 6 months. And somehow you feel like you were in control, but then you leave dejected. You leave vexed. Because you're wondering, is everybody telling the whole truth? I know I'm not the only one fudging. My girlfriend just bought a house. There's those factors that she might not have had. Okay, now, so you're saying, okay, Mr. Brown, can I fudge on how much I pay for my rent? Because I round down. It's 2,400. I say I pay 16 because I know something a little bit about DTI because my auntie, she's a loan officer, and she told me my DTI was too high. She said I need to have at least another $600 of income to get myself in the proper, debt to income and credit utilization. So you cheat by saying you pay less rent. Well, they got you there too. TransUnion owns what kind of company?
Rental Screening Solutions.
Own it.
They already know your rent. Who else owns a rental?
Experian Rent Bureau.
They own the what?
A Rent Bureau.
What's a rent bureau?
They know.
What's a rent bureau? This is when they verify previous addresses, how much you paid in rent, if you owe any money to the actual property, right? These are rent bureaus. Pass those around. So you're saying, oh, it's not on my credit report, so they don't know I owe. They don't know I owe Strawberry Ranch some money.
They could also see it on your bank statement, right?
On the banking activity report, yes, ma'am. They can see if you're paying rent with checks. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now let's go into something that's even a little weirder. This is very weird. Okay, and I'm very cognizant of the time, so this is very weird. Did you know when you move into a new community, if you have a criminal record, if you're a sex offender? No, we're not talking about the property manager will do a background check and say, no, you can't move in. No, we're talking about what if you still got in and the property manager knows you have a little background issue, but still moves you in. Experian sent me this. Pass that around. What does that say?
Sex offender registry. Your neighborhood has a news registered sex offender.
Gabriel.
Experian.
Gabriel, please review your alert. They alerted me about somebody that moved in my neighborhood that was a sex offender. I didn't ask to be alerted about sex offenders. Why do I have to get an email about that?
Right, you wanna know, right.
I mean, I may want to know if I have some young kids, but I'm saying I had to open that email to see that there was a sex offender that moved to my
Your
neighborhood.
neighborhood value gonna go down. Whatever the neighborhood score.
Look at you.
It's correct.
But look how the credit bureaus are now into the business of alerting you about stuff.
That they don't tell you about in the first place.
Okay. Now, I'm almost done. This is the last one I'm going to discuss with you. Background reports. Creditors are getting national background reports, city by city, county by county, on you instantly. This report here is mine. I've never been in prison, never been locked up. My background report is, I think this thing is 80 plus pages. Now, I have to say again, because I said on camera once for an insurance company that this was my background report, and I didn't say this information didn't belong to me. And one lady said, well, is that stuff really yours? And I was like, no, it's not mine. It's maybe 100 felonies on this report. I've never been in jail, never been locked up. And it is 7 background reports. This is report 1, report 2, report 3, report 4, report 5, report 6, report 7. This is what's given to the creditors when they access my credit. And the craziest thing about it, I have some of the weird, look at this. It looks at every city, county in the country instantly and compiles this report to give to your creditors. The FTC found this report so damaging to people's credit and ability to get credit that they held a workshop in Washington, D.C. about 3 weeks ago. No, it was December 12th. December 12th or December 19th. Where they invited people to come to talk about how this was negatively impacting their ability to get credit. Now, the weirdest thing about this is some of the stuff that it says is amazing. It says I've been on parole. It says I was selling cocaine in Hawaii. These are all
Because you're black?
these are all
But
cases.
why is it, how?
No. What happens is if you Google Gabriel Brown on, yes. This just targets not all specific identifiers like social security number. It just targets name, maybe state where you live in, something like that. But it doesn't go really into the specifics of your name, address, date of birth, and all that.
That's important.
Yes, it is, especially when creditors are saying reckless driving. I had a firearm that I didn't supposed to have. I had a deadly weapon I was waving around in front of people. I mean, possession of narcotics in Ventura, California. Possession of controlled substance of paraphernalia. I mean, just all sorts of stuff is on this report, and none of it's mine. And the reason I keep it there is for these workshops, right? But creditors review this about you, and if there's inaccurate information on these reports, you can have an 800 credit score, and when they review your background report, they don't care about that. They care about your background report.
So you know, Mr. Brown, you didn't live in Hawaii and you never lived there?
Hawaii, Georgia, Texas, I mean, it's 80 plus pages. I think it's about 100 felonies on it.
You could be doing life right now. So.
Right. I got open cases that I'm supposed to be in court for, according to this background report, and it's all inaccurate. It's not me. Yes.
My question is, do they have to disclose that to you when they're
No.
denying you?
No. This information is disclosed to people that, who requested this one on me? Oh no, this is me requesting it for myself. I request these reports for myself every year, okay? But this is what creditors, property managers, and anyone that wants to check me out, this is what they look at. And this is in the public domain, so I can get this on you without you knowing. It won't show up as an inquiry anywhere.
So it pays to have a unique name.
It pays to know the names of these reports, these unique reports, okay? Now,
So with that being, they don't tell you this information, you just are denied and you don't know all the stuff that you're supposed to be in jail or whatever.
that's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's why you're walking around and you're not sure why your ability to leverage your credit is stunted, is capped. You can't figure out what's going on. You think, okay, well, let me just pay down some more credit cards and go back and apply again. They told me if I'm under 30%, I'm good. And then you say, well, maybe I'll tweak it under 20%. I watched a guy on another video that said I need to get it to 20%. So you hustling, working overtime, now I'm at 20%, you go to the bank, they decline. Right? So you gotta figure out, not based on credit reports, but consumer report and data reports. Okay? Now I'm gonna give you some ninja tactics on how to work on your credit, and then I'm done. Do you want that, or you prefer to quit?
Yes.
You sure? Okay, these are some ninja tactics. All right, so let's say you have 60 credit cards. This is 60 credit cards. Blackcards, I have them all, right? And I keep them rubber banded. Yes, so let's say the credit utilization and protocol for using 60 credit cards is you're not supposed to use more than, what, 20% of your cards. So your credit capacity rule, these are the rules, here they are. The credit capacity rule is you're not supposed to use more than 20% of your cards. The credit utilization rule, you're not supposed to use more than 20% of your limit. They say 30, but it's 20, all right? So that's the 2020 rule. So how can I use 60 cards all at the same time and not violate the rule?
Stay under 20%.
Okay, so now that's the credit utilization, but what about the credit capacity? I'm using 100%.
Okay.
So how do I do that? How do I use 20% of the cards, but I'm using 100%?
You pay it off, or pay it off.
Rotate.
Oh.
That's good. Okay, rotate. Very good. But that's not it, because you're not using 100%. Because you're going from card to card, so every time you open one and pay the other one off, that's not 100%.
Major
I'm
purchase.
gonna use all 60 cards at the same time, but I'm gonna still stay under the 20% rule. How do I do that?
Close out some of the cards.
No, keep it moving. Let me tell you. Let me.
Did you say 60 cards is the limit?
No, that's just what I have. That's what I have on me today. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I don't.
I might wanna go on a shopping spree, I don't know, right?
I would.
Yeah, so this
Figure
is
out
how,
what percentage, Mr. Brown.
this is how you do it. There is a state of somethingness, which is positive. It's on the positive side of the periodic chart, right? And then behind something, we go into nothingness. So a positive balance means you what? Owe the creditor.
Okay.
What's a negative balance?
Oh.
Meaning they owe you.
You're correct.
So I use 20% of the cards positively. And the other 80% I use negatively. What do I mean? I send the negative usage a payment past zero.
Oh, I see.
Now they owe me.
Gotcha.
Generally accepted accounting principles, they must report who owes them and who they owe. So every month, for 80% of my cards, I'm getting a statement saying a negative balance. And they're reporting to the credit bureaus because they're sending me a statement. The credit bureaus don't know how to computate point increases for negative usage. And they don't even have a place on the report where it says you have a negative balance. It just says zero for negative.
But that's nonsense. That's nonsense. Because you'll ding me in the
Right.
event that I owe somebody.
That's right. That's right. So use the negative balance. So if you have 10 cards, the 20% rule is you can only use 2. Use 2 positively. And then send the other 8 a negative $25. They'll report every month you'll get 10 statements in the mail. 2 will have a balance, and 8 will have negative balance. And that's gonna help your score go up. So you're using everything, and they can't close them because of inactivity.
I had a credit card.
Wow, that's awesome.
I had a MasterCard company tell me.
Will they
to
send
pay
you the
it
money
off.
back?
They'll send it to you.
I had a MasterCard company tell me to pay it off every month.
Yes,
That's
paying
right.
it off every month is not a good idea.
It's not.
Because, yes, no, it's not. Paying it off every month is a good idea. It's being right, but as far as credit, it's not doing right.
But then they lowered my interest rate because of that.
Yes, because basically you've turned your credit card into a debit card. You want it to be a credit card. You want to carry a little balance, okay? So the credit bureaus can see, right? I don't like to pay off every month because that's aggressively just paying down credit. If that was the case, I'll just use cash, right? I want to be able to utilize the credit too. And plus, they need to be able to see over time that you can consistently make payments if you owe them. if you're paying it off all the time, they just think you're cash rich. And they just think you're cash rich, okay? Now, let me give you, you had a question before I go to the next one.
Oh, I totally forgot what it is now.
Okay. So, yes, they will send you your money back.
Oh, okay.
And that's a very good question. When they send you the money back, this is a tactic that I teach. Call them and ask them, hey, I just got a check in the mail, I'm not sure why. Was this a mistake? They're recording this call. You sound like you're not in need of money. And because you have them on the phone and they'll say, no, you overpaid us, so we sent you the money. You say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I just round my payments up to the next $50, $25, whatever you negatively put your account in. And then you say, why have you on the phone? Because they reviewed your file at that point. You say, why have you on the phone? Why haven't I got a limit increase? Right? You sound better asking for a limit increase when you're calling them thinking they mistakenly sent you some money. And you know they reviewed the account because they sent you the money. So the computer scanned through, saw your account, sent you the money. They reviewed you. That's one of their internal reviews. So they know what your score and everything is. Now that's the time to call. Okay?
So when they send you the money back the first time, you just keep.
I keep sending it right back to them.
Okay.
I keep sending it right back to them. Because I'm protecting my credit. I don't want them to close the account. Okay, now, you have 20 accounts. I'll give you a couple more. How do you take $5,000 and make it $100,000 on paper if you have 20 accounts? You take the 5,000.
Wait, say that again.
How do you take 5,000 if you have 20 credit cards? How do you make that 5,000 look like 100,000 on your credit report?
I thought that's what you said. Okay.
You take that 5,000 from one credit card and you roll it.
You what?
Roll over your balance?
You roll it.
Oh.
You roll it through all 20 cards. Now, mama, to pay your card down every month, now this becomes a tactic. If you use this tactic, then that pay off your account every month will work better for you on your overall credit profile.
So you said roll it, you mean?
You roll it. So the 5,000, let's say it's on American Express. When I get the statement, I roll that over to Chase. Now, American
You
Express is
pay
paid.
off the Chase card? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
I'm gonna pay off the American Express with a Chase voucher.
Oh, yeah.
When you have really good credit,
Yeah.
when you have really good credit, they send you vouchers all the time.
Right.
Pay off other cards, and they want you, it's, right? It's you look good when you're with somebody. You look bad if you're always by yourself.
Okay.
My mama told me
Right.
that. My mama told me that. Okay, right. So you take the 5,000 that you owe American Express, you use a Chase voucher to pay it off. Then when Chase sends you the statement, you use the Bank of America voucher to pay Chase off. On Wells Fargo, right? You just keep rolling the money. What happens is that 5,000 now you've rolled through all your accounts, and it looks like you spent 5,000 on each card and paid it off. 5,000 and paid it off because the credit bureau doesn't know how you paid it. They don't know you used a voucher.
Also, they don't report that.
They do report it, but it looks on your credit
Right,
report
looks
like
good.
you took every account you had, spent 5, like mama does. She spends the money and pays it off every month. You're using their vouchers to pay it. She's using her checks or her cash to pay it. That's the rollover. Okay, so now you got the deficiency balance protocol, the rollover protocol. Now let me teach you something you need to do with your cars. Whenever you buy a car, how many years do you finance it?
3 or 5.
3 or 5. The average is 5. What's the average number of cars a person buys in a lifetime? 4. 4. Okay, so how do I take my 5 cars and make it look like 25 cars?
Is that a good thing to do?
Yes, it is a good thing to do. Because what will happen, let's say this. Okay, let's say this. In 5 years, what's the chance that you may be late one time on a car note? It's highly probable. What I do, if you only have purchased 4 cars in a lifetime, so from 16 to 120, you've only had 4 cars, right? And the chance of you in those 4 5-year car notes, you've been late one time out of those 4 cars. And you've only had a relationship with 4 banks. What if one of those banks closed? What if after 10 years, all those car loans you've had start disappearing from your credit reports because good credit disappears like bad credit? Good credit has a statute of limitation like bad credit, right? So now, when you're 50 or 60, you have no car credit. It all disappeared. This is what I teach my clients to do. Refinance your car every 12 months with a new bank. I take one car loan that's 5 years and I run it through 5 banks. Now I have 5 loans with 5 banks. If I have 3 cars, now I have 15 loans. When I go to apply for car credit, every bank wants me because I have so many banks that I have paid off. So let's say the Lamborghini was $350. In 12 months, I refinanced it. How much do I have a high credit for of a paid off account? $350. You don't have any because you waited